Welcome to HFY Horizon. This is a story about why humanity doesn't need superior senses, only a better understanding. Lieutenant Maya Chen pressed her back against the obsidian cliff face, feeling the heat radiating through her armor. The volcanic plains of Crucible stretched before her, a nightmare landscape of black rock and sulfurous steam vents. "Status," she whispered into her helmet comm. "Corporal Davis here, ma'am. All three of us are still breathing. Barely." Private Kenji Sato's voice cracked through next. "Lieutenant, they're closing in. My scanner shows 7 Vekthari signatures within 200 meters. Maya checked her own scanner. The display showed electromagnetic signatures blooming like flowers across the screen. The Vekthari were everywhere. Their natural ability to sense and navigate by electromagnetic fields made them perfect hunters on this metal-rich world. Every piece of human tech, every wire, every power cell, all screamed their location to the alien trackers. "Medic Torres," Maya called. "How's our power situation?" Elena Torres's reply was grim. "Rifles at 40%. Comms at 60. Scanners are eating batteries like candy. We've got maybe 6 hours before we're running on fumes." 6 hours? The rescue window was in 18 hours. They had to survive 3 times longer than their tech would last. Maya remembered the briefing from back on the carrier, the Defiant. Commander Park's words echoed in her mind. The Vekthari are electromagnetic savants. They sense the fields around them, like we see colors. Every living thing generates bioelectricity. Every machine creates EM noise. To them, you're not invisible. You're a lighthouse. The Vekthari had proven it. The diplomatic mission had lasted exactly 47 minutes before the trap was sprung. The Vekthari collective had decided humans were trespassing on their holy ground. Crucible was sacred to them, a place where the planet's magnetic fields created what they called the singing stones. Places where reality itself hummed with electromagnetic beauty. To Maya's team, it was just another hellish rock. The ambush had killed Ambassador Reeves and his security detail in the first volley. Maya's fire team had only survived because they were securing the perimeter. They had run. For 6 hours, they had run, watching their squad mates die one by one as the Vekthari hunters picked them off. Now there were three humans with dying tech, facing an enemy that could sense their heartbeats from 100 meters away. "Listen up," Maya said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. "The Vekthari track us by our EM signatures, our gear, our implants, our bioelectric fields. Every nerve impulse in our bodies is a signal to them. So we're screwed," Davis said flatly. The big corporal had lost his best friend in the first attack. His voice held no hope. "No," Maya said. She had been thinking, remembering. "We're not screwed. We're going to do something they won't expect." "What's that, ma'am?" Sato asked. "We're going to go silent." Torres understood first. "Lieutenant, you can't mean—" "I do. We shut it all down. Every piece of tech, rifles, scanners, comms, everything. We go dark, completely dark." Davis's voice rose. "Ma'am, that's suicide. Without scanners, we're blind. Without rifles, we're defenseless. Without comms, we can't coordinate. Without EM signatures," Maya countered, "we're invisible." Silence filled the channel. "The Vekthari see electromagnetic fields," Maya continued. "But you know what they don't see? Visible light. Their eyes are vestigial, useless. They evolved in underground caverns, where EM fields were everything. Light meant nothing. We've been trying to hide our tech from them, but our bodies, our eyes, our ability to see, that's something they can't match." Sato's voice held a note of wonder. "We use our eyes, we navigate by sight, like humans did for thousands of years before all this tech." "Exactly," Maya said. "We become ghosts. No EM signature, no tech. Just 3 humans using the one sense the Vekthari can't counter." "How do we coordinate without comms?" Torres asked. "Hand signals, line of sight. We stay close, we stay visual." "Ma'am," Davis said slowly, I grew up in Detroit. Urban combat zones. We used hand signals when the gang jammers knocked out our comms. I can teach the basics." "Do it," Maya ordered. "We've got maybe 10 minutes before they triangulate our position again. Use it." They worked fast. Davis ran them through 20 essential hand signals. "Stop. Go. Enemy. Danger. Cover me. Flank left. Flank right." The gestures were sharp, clear, and visible, even in dim light. Then came the hard part. Maya powered down her rifle. The weapon's hum died. The smart scope went dark. The trigger safety disengaged with a mechanical click. She was left holding a simple kinetic weapon. Point and shoot. No computer assistance. No thermal overlay. No auto-targeting. Just a gun. Her scanner went next. The screen faded to black. Her tactical display vanished. The constant flow of information, the EM signatures, the friendly markers, the terrain mapping, all of it gone. She felt naked. "Comes last," she said. "On my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." She killed her helmet calm. The soft hiss of the open channel disappeared. The silence was absolute. Maya looked at her team. Davis gave her a thumbs up. Torres nodded. Sato looked terrified, but determined. She pointed forward. "Move out." They descended into the volcanic valley, using a narrow path between two lava flows. The heat was crushing. Steam vents hissed and spat, but Maya's eyes adjusted to the gloom. She saw handholds in the rock. She saw safe paths through the unstable ground. She saw everything the Vekthari could not. A flicker of movement ahead. Maya's fist shot up. "Stop!" Her team froze. Through a gap in the rocks, she saw them. 2 Vekthari scouts. They were tall, spindly creatures. Their skin was a deep purple, almost black. Their heads were smooth and featureless except for the complex sensory organs that ringed their skulls like crowns. Those organs pulsed with a faint blue light as they sampled the electromagnetic spectrum. The Vekthari moved with an eerie grace. They flowed over the rough terrain, never stumbling, never hesitating. They were reading the magnetic field lines in the volcanic rock, using them as a map only they could see. Maya watched them pass within 20 meters. The aliens paused. Their sensory crowns flared brightly. They were scanning, searching for the electromagnetic ghosts they had been hunting. But there was nothing. No rifle signatures, no comm chatter, no bioelectric fields, strong enough to be detected at this range. The Vekthari moved on. Maya waited a full minute before signaling, "All clear, move." They continued deeper into the valley. Every step was calculated. Maya led them around steam vents by the shimmer of heat in the air. She avoided unstable ground by the color of the rock, the fresh black of recent lava flows versus the weathered gray of old stone. She found shelter by the shape of shadows, the protection of overhangs, and cliff faces. All things the Vekthari could not sense. Hours passed. The team moved in silence. Hand signals were their only communication. Davis proved invaluable. The corporal had an instinct for urban warfare that translated well to this hostile terrain. He spotted ambush points. He found covered approaches. He was a soldier stripped of his tech, but not his training. Torres kept them alive in other ways. She rationed their water. She treated Sato's twisted ankle with a field wrap. She watched their backs when Maya was focused forward. And Sato, young Sato, he surprised them all. The private had the sharpest eyes. He spotted a Vekthari patrol a full minute before Maya did. He identified safe paths by the way light reflected off the stone. He was learning to trust his eyes in a way his generation never had. They found it at dusk, a dead zone. The crater was 30 meters across. Black sand filled its bottom, and in the center stood a pillar of twisted metal, the wreckage of an old survey probe. Human tech from the first expedition 20 years ago, but that wasn't what made it special. "Look at the sand," Maya whispered. They had risked activating a single scanner for 30 seconds to confirm what she suspected. The sand was ferromagnetic, rich in iron oxides, and the crater's shape created a natural electromagnetic null zone. The swirling magnetic fields of the planet cancelled each other out here. It was a blind spot, a place where even the Vekthari's senses faltered. We rest here, Maya decided. 4 hours, then we push for the extraction point. They collapsed in the shelter of the dead zone. Torres distributed the last of their rations. Davis took first watch, his rifle cradled in his arms, his eyes scanning the crater rim. Maya allowed herself to close her eyes. Just for a moment, she woke to Davis's hand on her shoulder. The corporal's face was grim. He pointed up. On the crater rim, silhouetted against the stars, stood 9 Vekthari. They had found them. Somehow, they had found them. Maya's mind raced. How? They had no EM signature, no tech running. They were ghosts. Then she understood. She looked at the ancient probe in the center of the crater. Its metal was twisted, but intact. And it still held a charge. A faint one. After 20 years, the solar cells and capacitors were nearly dead. But not quite. The probe was emitting a weak EM pulse, and the Vekthari had followed it. They had used humanity's own abandoned tech to find them. The aliens began descending into the crater. Their movements were confident. They had their prey cornered. Maya made a decision. She pointed at the probe, then at Davis, then at Sato. She mimed pulling a pin. Davis grinned. He understood. The corporal and the private moved through the darkness. They reached the probe. Sato pulled a small charge from his pack. Every soldier carried them, breaching charges. For doors, for walls, for obstacles, for ancient probes filled with volatile capacitors. Davis set the charge. Sato armed it. They ran back to Maya's position. The Vekthari were halfway down the crater wall when the probe exploded. The blast was small, but the electromagnetic pulse was massive. 20 years of stored solar energy released in a single violent burst. The EMP washed over the crater like a wave. The Vekthari screamed. Their sensory organs flared blindingly bright, then went dark. They were designed to sense electromagnetic fields, not to survive a point-blank EMP burst. The pulse overloaded their senses, burning out the delicate organs in their skulls. They fell, blinded, disoriented. Their perfect sense reduced to useless static. Maya's team moved. They flowed around the crater's edge, staying low, staying silent. The Vekthari thrashed in the sand, clutching their heads, making sounds like tearing metal. Davis led them up the far side of the crater. They disappeared into the volcanic wastes. Behind them, the Vekthari's backup arrived. Maya watched from a safe distance as a dozen more aliens descended into the crater. They tended to their fallen. They searched for the humans, but there was nothing to find. No EM signatures, no trail, just 9 blinded hunters and the smoking wreckage of a human probe. The extraction point was a flat mesa 10 kilometers north. Maya's team covered the distance in 4 hours. They moved like shadows. They used every trick, every lesson learned. They saw the Vekthari patrols before the aliens sensed them. They avoided the ambushes by reading the terrain. They survived by being human, by trusting their eyes in a way the Vekthari never could. The rescue shuttle dropped through the clouds exactly on schedule. Its pilot, Lieutenant Ramos, kept the engines hot. 30 seconds, Ramos called over the external speakers. Move, move, move. Maya's team sprinted across the mesa. Behind them, 6 Vekthari burst from cover. They had been waiting, watching, using their EM sense to detect the shuttle's approach. Davis spun. He raised his rifle. Without computer assistance, without smart targeting, he aimed with his eyes and fired. 3 shots. 3 hits. The Vekthari fell. Torres and Sato made it to the ramp. Davis followed. Maya came last, firing covering shots. The shuttle lifted off. Plasma bolts from Vekthari weapons scorched the air. But they were firing at where they sensed the shuttle's engines. Not where they saw it, because they couldn't see it. The shuttle banked hard. Ramos pushed the engines. They broke the atmosphere in 90 seconds. Maya collapsed in the jump seat. She looked at her team. Davis was grinning. Torres was crying silent tears of relief. Sato was staring at his hands like they were alien things. "Ma'am," Davis said, "permission to speak freely." "Granted. I never want to hear the phrase, quote, superior alien senses, end quote, ever again." Maya laughed. It hurt. Everything hurt. But she laughed. "Noted, Corporal. Noted." On the carrier Defiant, Commander Park debriefed them personally. He listened to Maya's report in silence. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "So," he said finally, "you survived by shutting down your tech, by using your natural senses, by doing what humans did before we had all these toys." "Yes, sir," Maya confirmed. Park smiled. It was a cold smile, a tactical smile. "The Vekthari think they're superior because they sense electromagnetic fields. But you beat them with something even more primitive. Visible light. The most basic sense in the galaxy." "Sir," Maya said, "with respect, it's not primitive. It's fundamental. The Vekthari evolved to see one narrow slice of reality. We evolved to see a different slice. Neither is superior. They're just different." "But in this case," Park said, "different was enough." "Yes, sir. It was enough." Park stood. He extended his hand. "Well done, Lieutenant. You and your team just taught the Vekthari a lesson. Superior senses don't mean anything if you don't understand their limits." Maya shook his hand. "We were lucky, sir." "Luck," Park said, "is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. You prepared. You saw the opportunity. You survived." "That's not luck, Lieutenant. That's humanity." Later in the crew quarters, Maya found Davis, Torres, and Sato sharing a bottle of something that definitely wasn't regulation. "Lieutenant," Davis called, offering her a glass. "Join us. We're celebrating being alive and being human." Maya took the glass. She raised it. "To dead zones," she said. "The places where superior senses don't matter, where humans thrive." "To dead zones," they echoed. And they drank. Outside the viewport, Crucible rotated slowly. A hostile world. A sacred world. A world where 3 humans had learned an old lesson. Sometimes the simplest tool is the most effective. Sometimes seeing is enough. Subscribe and like to my channel for more HFY sci-fi stories.